Good day, listeners, and welcome to Task Affairs. Task Affairs is brought to you by Imo State Internal Revenue Service. My name is Chinaza, Nwoke, your host. Today on the program, we'll be looking at consumption tax as related to hospitality sectors and customers. But before we go on, we'll be entering the streets of Owerri to find out people's opinion on consumption tax as related to hospitality sectors and customers. I'll be back shortly.
The name is Omeka.
Do you have the consumption tax printed in your payment receipt?
Yes, it's in the payment receipt. I can show you.
So anyone that collects the payment receipt will actually see the consumption tax.
I want to ask you, how do you separate the consumption tax fee from your main payments?
It's like stated, every revenue generated in the store, 5% of it should go as consumption.
That means you have record.
You have records.
Yes. Okay, so how often do you remit to Imo State Internal Revenue Service?
I want to believe that consumption tax is meant for the development of the state. So I will advise everybody that's in the position to pay for tax to do that.
So how are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
Fine, alright. I see you just came out from this restaurant here.
Yeah.
Are you aware of consumption tax?
Yeah, I'm aware of it.
Okay. Do you know if you are being deducted from your payments?
Not really, because I couldn't go through the payment slip, but I'm sure they did.
Are you with the payments receipt?
Yes, I'm with it here.
Can you check if it's there?
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm seeing it here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much deductions were made?
That was about 15 naira or so.
Okay.
Yeah, according to what I bought.
Glad to have you back to the studio. If you just tuned in, this is Task Affairs and it is brought to you by Imo State Internal Revenue Service. My guest on the program is Mr. Stanley Ezereonwu. Mr. Stanley Ezereonwu is the head of Consumption Task Desk. Mr. Stanley, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Chinaza.
Mr. Stanley, what is consumption tax and what is the history behind it and who pays this tax?
Good day, my very good people of Imo State. Once again, I welcome you all to this very program, Tax Affairs. Chinaza, responding to your question, consumption tax is a 5% charge that is added to every goods or services rendered to any guest or customer of any hospitality business in Imo State. And you asked about the history behind the tax. The history behind consumption tax is that, one, if you look at Nigeria as a country, you believe with me that states will no longer depend on federal allocation to survive. You believe with me that any state that relies solely on federal allocation for its infrastructural projects and all that will definitely crumble and go borrowing. And that is why some states have looked inward, because tax, like we all know, is not in the exclusive list of federal government. It is on the concurrent list that gives both state and federal government the rights and powers to make laws within their various states and the federation. So the history is that Imo State as a government has looked inward and seen that the federal allocation is no longer dependable to take care of their problems, and that's why, relying on the provisions of 1999 constitution, which empowers the state government to make laws, the state now decided to make laws on consumption tax in order to enable it to generate more funds to take care of the problems of Imolites. And the people that pay this tax, according to section 3.1 of the Imo State Consumption Tax Law 2019, are the consumers, like I said earlier, or the customers. Me and you, every citizen of the state, even the governor himself, the chairman of IRS, any citizen of the state that patronizes any hospitality business in the state, be it hotel, fast food, restaurant, beer parlor, nightclub, event center, even recreational parks, tourism sites, even open fields, that people pay a fee to use for wedding or any other program, provided it's being paid for and is under hospitality business, that guest, that customer who purchases that item or pays for that service is the person that pays the tax. And the tax is a 5% additional charge added to the original cost of the item or service the guest or the customer is to receive.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Who are the collecting agents in charge of collecting these tax, and which law backs the collection of these tax?
The collecting agents, according to Section 5 of the Imo State Consumption Tax Law 2019, are the owners or the operators or whoever they have entrusted their business into, whether managers or whoever the owner of the business. So they are the collecting agents, the business owners, the operators of those businesses. If you run an hotel in Imo State, you as the owner of the hotel is the collecting agent. If you own an event center, you as the owner of the event center is the collecting agent. Whatever business you run in the state that falls under the hospitality sector, you as the owner of that business is the collecting agent. And the law that backs the state, like I said, is Imo State Hotel Occupancy and Restaurant Consumption Tax Law 2019. Is the law number 5 of 2019.
Is this law not double taxation, and what is the difference between this tax and that?
Okay, to me and to the best of my knowledge and to the best of Imo State government, on our part is not double taxation. And reason is because people that pay VAT is not just on hospitality businesses. If you recharge your phone right now, they deduct VAT. VAT is all encompassing. It covers so many other units, but consumption tax is solely on goods or services rendered to customers or guests of hospitality sectors. Now, why we say is not double taxation to the sight of the government, be that as it may, that a guest of an hotel may have to pay VAT, which I think is 7.5% if I'm not mistaken, and that same guest may have to pay consumption tax. To him, it may look like double taxation because he spent to federal government and he spent to state. And if you go to Section 4, this bill is excluding value added tax, not including. And how does it operate? For instance, I rent an hotel room, or I want to pay for an event hall, or I buy beer from a beer parlor, or I buy food from a restaurant. If that, because of whatever I have purchased, is let's say 1,000 naira, you know, when you add VAT of 7.5, you start getting additional 75 naira. It becomes 1,075 naira. Now, the law did not say inside that 1,075 naira you should remit 5%. No, the law says the owner should add another 5% on top, which is 5% of 1,000, which will give you 50 naira. So the payment is outside VAT. So it is not, even some hospitality operators in the state have misconstrued this very section of the law because they say they pay VAT. But you are not going to deduct it from your own money of the principal rate, which is 1,000, or from the 1,075 naira from where you remit VAT, but you are to add it on top to show that it is in exclusion of VAT. Okay. And this is where the Imo State House of Assembly has been able to remove this from being in conflict with the Nigerian law, because the Nigerian law says that any state law that is in conflict with the national or federal law, the state law will be withdrawn. But this aspect of the law, Section 4, says that this bill is excluding VAT. That means it's not in any controversy or conflict with the federal law that enacted VAT.
Okay. How does the collecting agent apply this 5% consumption tax?
They apply it, like I said a few seconds ago, by adding this 5% on top of their principal rate, on top of their normal charge. If a hotel room is 10,000, 10,000 is the owner's money. You add another 5% on top your rate, which is I think 500 naira of 10,000. Then you sell your room at 10,005. You take your 10,000, you keep the government's 500. Which is the 5%. So they apply it by adding it on top of whatever amount their own levy or their own charge is.
Okay, can you further explain the relevance of the electronic fiscal devices and receipt books as regards the consumption tax?
Okay, the electronic fiscal devices is derived from Section 18 of the Imo State Hotel Occupancy and Restaurant Consumption Tax. The Section 18 empowered the Imo State Internal Revenue Service to dictate whichever means they feel should be best to collect this tax. It's just like you sending somebody under your custody to market, to buy something for you, you should devise a means when that person come back, you should be able to look at what he or she has bought to see if it's what you actually sent him to buy. So that's what the electronic fiscal device is trying to explain, that the state should have a means to be able to, check what these people are collecting on their behalf. I mean, the collection agents are collecting. And the electronic fiscal device is a machine. Like if you go to fast food or hotel to buy something, you will know that some of them, whatever you buy, they key it into a computer. So it is a system where the government has decided that whatever receipt you issue to somebody, be it machine, if you're using computer, that's electronic fiscal, if you're using hard copy, that's receipt. But the concept is that whatever receipt you issue must show that 5% being deducted on the customer's receipt. And the government gave 15th of June as deadline to cooperate, which has elapsed. The government again through IRS gave 12th of July, which elapsed again. Anytime from now, our enforcement team shall be moving into the field. Any business that is under hostility that has not started complying with this imputation of 5% into their receipt booklet or electronic fiscal device, the government will carry out enforcement action any moment from now. So that is one of the major reasons why we have come here to tell Imolites, the hostility business operators, to start complying with this imputation. Thank you very much.
Yes, they've come here to tell Imolites to make sure they pay their tax. That is coming from Mr. Stanley. Is wrong? Yes, he is the head of consumption tax desk. We'll be going on a short break now. After that, the program continues.
This is to inform the public that Imo State Internal Revenue Service has commenced the issuance of vehicle number plate, both private and commercial. On that note, whoever that is dealing with tax is at his or own risk. Please kindly walk into motor license office located at 76 Okeke Road and deal with staff of Imo State Internal Revenue Service. Signed, Dr. Ifeanyi C. Okeke, FCA, Interim Chairman, Imo State Internal Revenue Service.
Glad to know that you are still there. The program is Tax Affairs and it is brought to you by Imo State Internal Revenue Service. I still have Mr. Stanley Ezereonwu in the building. Mr. Stanley, let me just ask this question. What happens to a business that sells off or hands over to management?
It's a very simple thing. If you want to buy over an hotel or any hospitality business in the state, before you pay, first of all, write IRS to determine, as in to confirm if that business is indebted on consumption tax. If the business is owing consumption tax, the onus is now on you to deduct whatever amount will respond to you that the business is owing from that amount you want to pay for the purchase of that hospitality business. Then if we tell you that the business is not owing, you go ahead and pay. But if you don't come to confirm from us and you go and buy a new or an already existing hospitality business, and we later find out that that person is owing, you as the person who has bought over it and now occupying it will pay. Just like when you rent an house, any NEPA bill the old tenant owes will be on you. So it's your duty to make sure that the person clears those existing debts before you purchase.
I just received this message, and this message is coming from Mr. Emeka or from World Bank. He's asking, so what measures is to put in place to ensure that other restaurants comply to the collection of consumption tax from their customers for proper synergy?
The measure Imo State government is putting in place now through the Imo State Internal Revenue Service is to make sure that we exhaust in totality every provision of the law. You know that since the executive governor of the state disbanded consultants in the state, IRS haven't come to be and running professionally is making use of the law to the core. So the moment we exhaust every provision of the law, the last and bottom line of is to carry out enforcement action, and we are totally on the neck of every business to comply.
Yes, we are totally on the neck of every every business to comply. I'll take it off from there. Thank you so much, Mr. Stanley, for coming to the program. That is the much we can take. Before we go, let me quickly tell our listeners our phone numbers. You can contact us on 070-4414-3056. Again, 070-4414-3056. Email address is at taxaffairs@iirs.tax. You can Facebook us at Imo Revenue. Our blog is at blog.irs.im.gov.ng. Our website is irs.tax. On behalf of the producer Femi Adedeji, the assistant producer Chidimma Obijiako, not forgetting the research support Agba Isaac, Gracious Ngbokwere, Chimezie, Ibewike, and to my editor Chigozie, Emeremgini. I'm not forgetting also the executive producer of this program, Dr. Ifeanyi Okeke. My name is Chinaza, Nwoke. See you again, same time, same station next week. Bye for now.